Hello and welcome back. I'm your host, Malin Mitrovich, and in today's episode, we're talking about a topic that affects millions of people worldwide: gender inequality in the workplace. Despite decades of progress, gender inequality remains a persistent problem in our professional environments, and it impacts everything from pay to career advancement to the safety and well being of employees. So, let's break it down and explore why it still exists, who's affected, and what we can do to make change. First, let's talk about what gender inequality in the workplace actually means. At its core, gender inequality refers to the unequal treatment of individuals based on their gender. This can manifest in various ways: pay disparities, limited career advancement opportunities for women, non binary, and transgender individuals, as well as harassment, exclusion from leadership roles, and unconscious biases in hiring practices. You might think that this issue is something of the past, but the reality is that even in 2024, gender inequality is alive and well. According to recent studies, women still earn on average 80 cents for every dollar a man makes in similar positions. That wage gap is even wider for women of color, transgender individuals, and those in lower wage jobs. And when it comes to leadership, women hold less than a quarter of executive positions in Fortune 500 companies. That's not just a number. Those are real people being held back from their potential. Now, who benefits from this inequality? Well, predominantly men, specifically cisgendered men, have historically been the ones in positions of power. They tend to dominate high-paying industries and top-tier roles, leaving women and marginalized genders to face systematic barriers. But it's important to remember that gender inequality doesn't only harm women. It impacts non-binary and transgender people as well. Non-binary individuals face discrimination and erasure in the workplace, often being forced to conform to binary gender norms or deal with harassment when they don't. Transgender individuals, meanwhile, may face challenges like bias during hiring or job discrimination once they're in a role. And they may not have the same access to healthcare benefits or protections against discrimination as others. So, who is harmed? The answer is simple: anyone who doesn't fit into traditional gender roles, particularly women, non-binary, and transgender people. So, what are the barriers to achieving gender equality in the workplace? Well, there are several layers to this issue. First, there's the cultural barrier. Gender norms and stereotypes still heavily influence how we perceive leadership, competence, and authority. Many people still associate leadership qualities with traditional masculinity, which is assertiveness, decisiveness, and strength. So, when women or non binary individuals display those same traits, they're often labeled negatively, such as being too aggressive or bossy. That bias keeps them from reaching higher positions, even though they may be more than qualified for the job. Then, there are structural barriers. Things like a lack of family-friendly policies, such as paid parental leave or flexible work hours, which disproportionately affects women. These policies, or the absence of them, can prevent women from advancing in their careers or even entering certain fields in the first place. Let's not forget about economic barriers either. Women, especially women of color, are more likely to work in lower paying jobs and are less likely to receive fair compensation for equal work. This deepens the cycle of economic disparity, making it harder for them to build wealth and achieve financial independence. So, why is all of this happening? What are the causes behind gender inequality in the workplace? At the macro level, the roots of gender inequality are tied to broader societal structures. Patriarchy, which places men at the top of societal hierarchies, continues to influence the way work is organized, valued, and performed. It's not just about individual biases. It's about the collective systems and policies that disadvantage women and non-binary people. The economic system itself also plays a part. For example, care work, which is overwhelmingly done by women, is undervalued and underpaid, reinforcing the idea that women's labor is less important than men's. At the micro level, there's unconscious bias in hiring and promotion processes. Managers and HR professionals may not even be aware of how they're contributing to inequality. But bias in performance reviews, networking opportunities, and decision making can all stack the odds against women and non-binary individuals. Research has shown that even the language used in job descriptions can be gendered, discouraging women from applying to high-level jobs in fields like tech or engineering, where men are more dominant. And then there's the issue of sexual harassment in the workplace, which often goes unaddressed. A lack of robust reporting mechanisms and support systems allow this issue to persist and contributes to an environment where people feel unsafe, and women in particular are discouraged from speaking out. Now that we've talked about the problem, let's turn our attention to solutions. What can we do to address gender inequality in the workplace? First and foremost, we need policies that promote equity. Companies need to implement transparent pay audits to ensure women and marginalized genders are being paid equally for the same work. That's a simple but powerful step. Additionally, businesses should establish mentorship programs that specifically support women and non-binary employees, helping them gain access to career development, networking opportunities, and leadership roles. Another crucial step is training for all employees, but especially for those in leadership and HR positions. Unconscious bias training can help individuals recognize the way they may be unknowingly perpetuating inequality. We also need to create safe work environments by establishing and enforcing strict anti-harassment policies, ensuring that everyone feels comfortable coming forward if they experience discrimination. But the work doesn't stop there. You, as a listener, can also make a difference. Support companies and organizations that are committed to diversity and inclusion. If you're in a position of power at your workplace, advocate for policies that create a more inclusive environment. Stand up against discriminatory practices even when it's uncomfortable. And if you're a manager or in HR, ensure that women, non-binary, and transgender individuals are given equal opportunities to thrive. Get involved in initiatives that push for equal rights, whether it's signing petitions, participating in marches, or simply sharing this message to raise awareness. Gender inequality in the workplace is not a problem that can be solved overnight, but by addressing the systematic issues and creating supportive, inclusive environments, we can move towards a more equitable future. Every step, no matter how small, helps break down the barriers that prevent women, non-binary, and transgender people from achieving their full potential. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. If you're passionate about this issue and want to learn more, check out the resources that I have listed below. And remember, every action counts. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay informed, stay inspired, and keep making change.